welcome to the Blue Island Historical Society and our History Hour. We're lucky this month. We're going to have 2 History Hours. We've got another one tomorrow night on the Briggs Project. These guys are really excited about this ship they found in the dunes in Indiana, and he's going to show us some stuff on that. So welcome. A few things just before we start. Bathroom is through that door there. We have some coffee, tea, punch, cookies, and some pastries for you to enjoy afterwards. We have no time limit here, so if you want to ask a million questions afterwards, we don't have to be out by a certain time. It's the Historical Society's building. And welcome and thank you. And welcome to you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Willie Scott. I guess I better move this somehow. Can you hear okay with this?
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. Welcome to the Blue Island Historical Society and another series on events marking Black History Month in Blue Island. I'd like to remind you that tomorrow night, as was just indicated, at 7, there will be at this place, the same place, researchers from the Briggs Project, which is talking about their investigation of the Calumet River, possible ties to the Underground Railroad, or railway. And next Wednesday night, there'll be another event, again here, and it's the world-famous dancer and choreographer Reggio McLaughlin. And he'll appear with the Eisenhower High School hip-hop dance troupe at Christ Memorial Church. It will not be here, it'll be at Christ Memorial Church. Where's Dan? Is that correct? That's correct. All right. All these events are co-sponsored by Blue Island's Historical Society, the library, and Eisenhower High School. Tonight we welcome Beth Johnson. Ms. Johnson is a native of Chicago, holding an advanced degree in historic preservation from the School of Art Institute in Chicago. She lectures and works as an architectural consultant on preservation projects throughout the Chicagoland area. She's currently establishing a nonprofit organization dedicated to the identification, documentation, and preservation of minority culture sites. Tonight she will be speaking about the Binga Bank, the development and evolution of the Bronzeville area in Chicago's South Side. Bronzeville was also known as Chicago's Black Metropolis. Established by Black entrepreneur Jesse Binga to serve the needs of those not welcome in white-controlled banks, the Binga Bank was the first state-chartered African-American-owned bank in Chicago. Ms. Johnson's presentation is made possible by the generous grant from the Illinois Humanities Council. Ms. Johnson, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone coming out on such a cold evening. I'm going to pretty much just jump right into my presentation here. On January 3rd, 1921, the Broad Axe, a local black newspaper in Chicago, announced the opening of the Binga Bank, which was located at 3452 South State Street. It's since then been demolished. Jesse Binga, who was born in 1865 and died in 1950, selected this location as the corner around which Negro businesses would revolve. But Jesse Binga had been involved in the development of the community long before the establishment of this state-chartered bank. As a result of his efforts, the community of Bronzeville, which was also known as the Black Metropolis, as well as Chicago's Black Belt, was able to grow and flourish. Money was now available to the African-American community when they previously had no access to the economic benefits of a bank. This enabled blacks to buy homes, invest in their businesses, and develop the neighborhood. Until its closing in 1930, the bank and Binga's involvement in the neighborhood helped the African-American community prosper economically. The Black Belt contained the highest concentration of African-American people in Chicago. Prior to the establishment of the Black Metropolis, there was no single African-American community. Blacks were scattered throughout the city, located in close proximity to their places of work. And between 1850 and 1870, new technologies, which aided the growing industries, encouraged blacks to come to Chicago to take advantage of manufacturing jobs as well as a better life. By 1870, the largest concentration of African Americans was located between 12th Street on the north, 39th Street on the south. The western border was defined by industrial properties and the railroads, and on the east were affluent white neighborhoods. The area developed into an independent commercial and social strip for African Americans. And by 1900, the black metropolis was well established as a city within a city, a community that satisfied its own demands for goods and services. Jesse Binga. This is a photograph of him around 1925. This was the man behind the bank. He was born in Detroit. His parents were extremely influential in introducing a strong work ethic to him and his 7 brothers and sisters. At an early age, he was brought into the family businesses. His father was a barber and his mother had real estate concerns, and he worked primarily with his mother, who taught him the real estate business. He received a high school education and studied law for 2 years. Binga left home and traveled west to explore Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Utah. In Idaho, he made a significant amount of money on a real estate deal where he bought 20 lots in a small town called Pocatello and sold them for a handsome profit. With this money, he traveled to Chicago and settled. During the mid to late 1890s, he opened a real estate business at 3331 South State Street. His business prospered and allowed him to relocate to better office space on the first floor of the Bates apartment building seen here. The Bates apartment building was located at 3637 South State Street. Units in the building were, at that time, rented primarily by whites, but after Binga signed a long-term lease, the residential makeup began to change and shifted toward African American patrons. He ended up purchasing the building in 1905, and as a result, he gained the reputation for being a pioneer, opening doors for Negroes in the white neighborhoods. This is a photograph of Binga's first bank. This was the private bank that he first started out with. He chartered 2 banks, and this was the first of the 2. His success in real estate prompted him to open this private bank located at 3633 South State Street in 1908. In addition to his new financial venture, he continued to make numerous real estate deals, enabling him to obtain all available property on State Street between 47th and 48th Streets. The area began to flourish with the creation of Binga Bank, allowing for more opportunities to establish black businesses and residential opportunities. At one point in time, he owned 1,200 residential leases, and by 1926, he owned more property south of State Street than any other person in the city. Jesse Binga would marry Eudora Johnson, who was a descendant from one of the prominent black families in the city. She had made quite a bit of money on her own from the sale of land that she inherited from her family. She sold a large portion of her land to the railroad, and I believe it was the Santa Fe Railroad where she made the largest transaction. Her parents bestowed the land to her. Her brother, who was a gambling syndicate owner by the name of John Mushmouth Johnson, amassed more wealth for the family during the turn of the century. Upon his death in 1907, he left the bulk of his estate, which was valued at that time between $500,000 and $750,000, to his sister. Her fortune, along with the proceeds from Binga's real estate transactions, would help secure the financial footing of the Binga Bank and establish it as a centerpiece of black business. One of the first notable enterprises in the area as a result of all of these gains was the Café des Champions, which was opened in 1912 by prize fighter Jack Johnson. The property was located just west of State Street on 31st. The exact address is 4 West 31st Street, and it featured a 3-story structure housing a cabaret on the first floor, a private dining room on the second floor, and an apartment for Johnson on the third.